So we are seeing characteristics of culture. Write few more. Write in one line only, all of them. Okay. Now don't write as a separate point. Write in one line. Culture is organic and super organic. Organic evolution, like organic evolution is related to biological evolution, which is more to do with carbon, hydrogen, oxygen and other elements. A super organic evolution is a cultural evolution. There is also a super organic view of culture which was given by Alfred L. Kroeber, who considers culture as an entity and it has growth in itself. So culture is organic and super organic, because culture rests on biology, but it is not biological. You get my point? So please write in continuation to the same statement, culture rests on biology, but it is not biological. Culture is ethos and eidos. Ethos means affective component and this is non-affective component. Again, affective component is something related to emotions, and so ethos and eidos. Ethos is related to affective component, which is emotional component, and the other one is just formal appearance. Formal appearance. Culture is overt and covert. Overt means explicit. Overt means explicit. Covert means implicit. Explicit things are easily detectable. And covert things are not easily detectable. So what are not so easily detectable elements of culture? Emotions, sentiments, beliefs. These are not easily detectable. What is going in one's mind, how can we know? Isn't it? So this is something about culture, characteristics of culture. Next you can say types of culture based on their spread, or maybe simply types of culture. You can write cultural universals, so what are cultural universals? Which are those cultural practices which are universally existent. Can you name some cultural practices which are universally existent? Okay, family, marriage, religion, all these are cultural universal. So please write, cultural universals are universally practiced. Cultural practices, universally practiced cultural practices. For example, marriage. Cultural alternatives. So cultural alternatives are again different cultural practices which have a common end objective or goal. Maybe if marriage is a universally existing thing, then types of marriages would be different means to fulfill a need, isn't it? So please write cultural alternatives are different types of practices which have a common goal or objective. That means different means to a common end. Different means to a common end. Different types of marriages can be seen as cultural alternatives. Cultural specialities. Because weekend you are throwing cultural specialities are, see, these cultural practices serve as an identity of a cultural group. Now can you tell me any of such kind of cultural practices or any elements of culture which serve as an identity of a group? Can you give me an example? Sorry? They are there in other places also. Something by seeing something you are able to identify the cultural group. But something very common. Yeah, you are saying something. Festival. Okay, maybe a festival belonging to a particular culture. I will take that one. For example, one specific thing. Pinpoint one. Yajnas. Any general thing. But anyway, maybe dressing style or ethnic wear you can see as a, isn't it? Saris in India. Lungi. You're feeling very happy. Isn't it? So these are specialties which act as so someone you see, you are identifying, okay, this person belongs to a particular cultural group, maybe Padda. You get my point? So those are cultural specialties which serve as an identity of a cultural group. Please write. These serve as, or cultural practices or cultural traits which serve as identity of a cultural group. For example, dress, ethnic wear. Anuj is saying Gandhi cap. So those are cultural specialties. Next one. Contra culture. So these are cultural practices which exist which contradict the existing culture. Those are known as contra culture. Maybe in a peaceful society someone started using guns. Gun culture will contradict the existing culture. Maybe in Indian context, live in relationships, contradicting the existing cultural practice. Please write. Contra culture. These cultural practices contradict the existing cultural or existing culture of a group. Contradict the existing culture of a group. For example, live in relationships in India. Subculture. So these are cultural practices within a culture. Say for example, you take village. In village you have people belonging to different religions, different castes. So entire village will have one culture. The other subgroups also have their own culture. That is known as subculture. So cultural practices of a subgroup within a larger group are known as subcultures. Yes. So these are different types of culture. Cultural processes. Please write. Cultural processes are ongoing, continuous, which create ongoing and continuous, which create a situation or a change, which creates a situation or a change. Which creates a situation or a change. Cultural processes enable human survival, human adjustments, or may resist an action or a change. Different types of cultural processes include cultural evolution. So can you give me an example of cultural evolution outside savagery, barbarism and civilization? No, can you give me any, I was asking a question. Can you give me an example of cultural evolution outside savagery, barbarism and civilization? Evolution. So you have to show various stages of cultural development from past to present. No, no, no. I'm asking like savagery, barbarism, and civilization. These are different stages in cultural development, and this is what we have regarded as a cultural evolution. Likewise, can you also tell me any example of cultural evolution from the topics that you have studied?
Evolution of humans from to
That is biological evolution. Which one? Pottery. Okay, if you know the sequence, you can tell me.
how we set how we from
No?
caves to mud houses to concrete structures.
Okay, with respect to this one.
Maybe technology
Okay.
to
You are not giving specific things, but yes, pottery, if you know, you can say different stages. But maybe you studied band, tribe, chiefdom, state, evolution of political organizations, isn't it? Maybe food gathering and hunting, agriculture and pastoralism, pre-industrialization, industrialization, post-industrialization. This is evolution of economic activities, evolution of political organizations, something similar to that. Maybe if you give pottery, ochre colored pottery, isn't it? Then black and red ware, painted grey ware, northern black polished ware. Those are the different pottery stages in post Harappan sites. Okay, so that is the thing. So please write cultural evolution. Slow and gradual changes in social institutions or culture of a group over a period of time. For example, band, tribe, chiefdom, state. So this is evolution of political organizations. Please write evolution of political organization. Cultural diffusion. So tell me, what is cultural diffusion in terms of the theory that you have studied? Yeah, spread of culture from one place to another. That is from high culture to low culture, or well developed culture to least developed culture. So please write cultural diffusion is spread of cultural traits and complexes from high culture to low culture. Or well developed culture to least developed culture.
previous example of cultural evolution, agriculture, to the state.
Food gathering, hunting, agriculture and pastoralism, pre-industrialization, industrialization, post-industrialization. You want to write that one? So cultural evolution, you can write that also if you want. So cultural diffusion is spread of cultural traits and complexes from high culture to low culture, or well developed culture to least developed culture. So after the cultural traits and complexes diffuse to from one place to another place, they may change according to the environment, isn't it? So that is what is the diffusion. Or they need not change also, but in the according to theory, that is the thing. What can you give me some example? Okay, bow and arrow, Radzell, or maybe zero also you can take, number 0. Or paper and fertilizers, invented by China, used by rest of the world. So how many types of diffusion we have seen? Not according to American school. Direct, indirect, then forced. Isn't it? Please write. Example of cultural diffusion is zero was invented by India and used by rest of the world. Likewise, paper and fertilizers were invented by China, used by rest of the world. So there are 3 types of diffusion. Direct, indirect and forced. That you already know, no? That. So next one. Acculturation. See, acculturation is similar to diffusion, but here we don't use the term high culture and low culture. That is the only difference. So acculturation and diffusion are used synonymously, but we are not using any high culture or low culture. That is the only thing. You getting my point? And not using any high culture or no culture. Please write acculturation. Borrowing or imitating cultural practices of another group. Borrowing or imitating the cultural practices of another group. So generally they are used synonymously, isn't it? Maybe you can take pizza, burgers in India. So after acculturation, contra-acculturation. Can you guess? Contra-acculturation. Contra-acculturation. A, B, same. But the cultural traits after going here will contradict their existing culture. That's the only thing. The borrowed or imitated cultural traits will contradict the existing culture of a group. For example, you can write live-in relationships in India, which was borrowed from Westerners. See, all these are unidirectional. All these are unidirectional. So after contract culturation, it is transculturation. Trans means across. Earlier it was unidirectional, this is bidirectional. So A to B and B to A. So that is transcultural. Can you give me an example? Something borrowed. A borrowed something from B and B borrowed something from A.
Hindus in India celebrating, participating in Muharram and Muslims participating in Holi.
Something like that. So different cultural groups participating in each other's festivals and fairs. That is transculturation. Or maybe you can say, earlier I have given the example of pizzas and burgers. So here tandoori or something like that. Please write. Transculturation is bidirectional. Two cultural groups adopting or borrowing or imitating cultural practices of one another. For example, food habits or maybe festivals or something like that. Okay, maybe barter. Yes. Next one, enculturation. Enculturation. You know this, no? Enculturation. What is enculturation? This is with respect to an individual. It is a lifelong learning process of culture with respect to an individual. So, enculturation is lifelong learning process of culture. Yeah, lifelong learning process of culture by an individual. Enculturation. Then cultural revolution. These are fast-paced cultural changes. These are fast-paced cultural changes that have occurred after Industrial Revolution. Deculturation. Deculturation. So this is a process through which a cultural group loses its identity, cultural identity. Particularly, you can take the example of tribal people. So, tribals coming in contact with non-tribal people, losing their tribal identity or not, or leaving away their tribal practices. Please write. Deculturation is a process through which a cultural group loses its identity. For example, tribals in contact with non-tribal communities resulting in loss of their culture. Other terms like assimilation and integration and other things are also used, but we have a debate with respect to isolation, assimilation and integration that we will see in paper 2. You get my point? But generally, if they ask cultural processes, you can write them. These are the different types of cultural processes. I think a handout was given to you with respect to culture and civilization. You have them. So please take the handout, culture and civilization. You got it? All of you online students? Yeah.